I ask you a question? Are you ready to get and keep momentum in your business? I hope so, because it's Penny Elliott here, your host to having the perfect mix of the woo with the do. If you're ready to create the life that you want through a business designed by you, then tune in. Awesome. Well, welcome to the Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneurs podcast with me, Penny Elliott, the show where we match the woo with the do. What do I mean? I mean, this is your perfect mix of mindset and strategy to have fast success in your online business. So you can finally live the life that you thought you were going to when you set up your freedom business. And we're kicking off the podcast with Hit Refresh on 2020 Summit. And today I have the amazing Denise Duffield-Thomas with us. And I have followed Denise for a very long time because, one, she is from our corner of the world. She's from Australia, which for all you listeners up north is very different to New Zealand. Much like Canada versus America, we are separate countries. And I just thought it was amazing that she was pioneering, I guess, the online woman in spirit down under. And also I loved the fact that she'd lived in London before, and so had I, and there was loads of similarities. And so I really enjoyed following along and then reading her books, and she's very straight up, and I like that approach. And there was just loads of things that I loved about Denise, and so became a super fan, I guess. And then I've been to see your Chillpreneur book launch here in Auckland, and every time I've kind of had, and also I've flown to the Gold Coast, I forgot about that, to come to one of your events there as well. So I sort of, feel like I know you really well. I'm one of those creepy people that always comments on all your photos on stories.
That's funny.
Yeah. So why don't you let everyone know what you do? Because I think everyone describes their own bio better than me just like reading it off a sheet.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I call myself a money mindset mentor or coach, and it is a totally made up kind of job title, but really I help female entrepreneurs mostly with their money mindset, with their confidence around charging well, asking for money, being okay, making money, dealing with the guilt around making money, all of those things, because I believe that business is really simple. I think we can Google stuff, you can buy a course teaching you how to do anything. But at the end of the day, it's just you in a room having the courage to ask people for money. And that's often where people get stuck. They get very scared about it, they get blocked, they sabotage it. And I'm here to help with that. So I do that through my books and through my courses, and occasionally through live events, which you have come to as well. And Corona's put a stop to all of that. Yeah. So mostly my business is totally online. And so I've got books, and Money Bootcamp is my main course, which is an online course and community for people who want to make money and change the world.
Amazing. And I love that because, as you all know, listening to this, I always talk about the little girl voice and how I was so shocked when I went from a corporate dealing with men and invoices and pay on this time, and that's how much it is, and do you want to split the invoice and who's in charge of the money, to the online world with all these women, and they talk so passionately about their ability to help you, whether it's Pilates or yoga or life coaching or whatever it might be, and it's amazing and so excited. And then when it came to the money bit, they were like, so it's like $1,000, but I know that coronavirus has hit and like everyone's lost their jobs and stuff. So maybe we can make it like $500, and I'll throw in like 25 extra free sessions, and I'll send you my cat so that you can give him a cuddle as well. Would that be all right?
And I'll come to your house and I'll do your laundry too.
Yeah, right.
And then they never send you the invoice anyway.
Yes. So I guess that's where I really resonated with a lot of your work as well. So I feel quite privileged to have been able to come to some of your live events, because we're not sure, one, if we're ever going to be able to leave our country again. Hopefully Australia and New Zealand are going to form a bubble. And two, what live events will look like moving forward. I mean, we still take our shoes off and only have less than 100 mils going on a flight after 9/11 so many years ago. So I feel really privileged to have come to some of your live events. So with that kind of in mind in the current environment and what we're potentially looking at, I'd love for you to share with everyone about how you're hitting refresh on 2020 now that some of those revenue generating streams have been evaporated out of your business now.
Well, this is a really great kind of reality check, I suppose, in looking at what your revenue streams are. And, you know, sometimes I think when times are good or when we're in a kind of procrastinating space, we try and do so much stuff. And I've actually been really lucky that my business has been mostly online for pretty much, you know, 10 years. So my books and my events and, you know, speaking, it actually comprises a pretty small part of my overall revenue. So that was great because already I was like, oh, okay, that stuff was a nice to have. But it also made me realize how important it is to focus and not try and be everything to everyone and not try and do everything all at the same time. Also, a really big lesson not to put all your eggs in the one basket, whether it's one launch, you know, one thing. So those seem like kind of contradictory, right? It's like, don't do all the things, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Thanks for the clarity.
Yes, exactly. So here's what I think is really important for everybody is always to have something that people can buy from you right now. And that is, it could be an evergreen course, or it could be a book or something that doesn't require your energy. And, you know, coronavirus has made this very apparent to all of us, right? That sometimes things happen out of our control, but none of us know what's around the corner for ourselves and our families. You know, we could have a family member who becomes ill that we have to care for. We could have illness ourselves. You know, I heard something like, isn't it 1 in 3 people get cancer? You know, and it's like, you have to be able to create a business that makes money regardless of what's going on in your life, good and bad, right? You might decide to go traveling for a year. You might decide to take time off to have a baby or to write a book, you know, the book of your heart. But so many of us are stuck doing things that we don't want to do because we have no choice. So for me, I was very, you know, grateful that I'd created those things. But the hit pause for me is a reminder to encourage other women to do that as well, so we can all have it. And just seeing the ripple effect too. So I've seen people in my community who say, you know what, the pandemic hasn't impacted me. I've got a safety net now, or I've got income streams. And so they are out there spending money with other entrepreneurs. They're getting their websites done and they're getting their branding, or they're getting online yoga classes because they have the money to do it. And so it's not just about, oh cool, one of us can have money. It's about encouraging our entire community to charge well for what they do, to create their businesses in ways that help us thrive, and to create our own wealth, so we're not reliant on other people and other, you know, jobs or even the government to save us.
Amazing. I love that. I love the fact that the ripple effect that you being the best version of yourself and having that online presence and being visible has for so many other people. I love that. That's great.
And that's not just me, that's all of us, right? You know, when you charge well for what you do, it has such a ripple effect through your clients, your communities, your suppliers. Everybody is impacted by a woman who stands in her worth.
Amazing. So if you went back before lockdown, knowing what you know now, what would you have bought or changed in your business?
Well, you know, this year I actually planned a ton of travel. So I'm not a big traveler because I've got small kids. And so I did plan out a lot of stuff. So I don't know if I would have, obviously if I'd known that was coming, I wouldn't have committed and paid in full for like business class flights all around the world. So I probably would have changed that. But you know what I was thinking just before lockdown, I was like, I think I'd like to start a podcast. And I've seen a ton of people right now, you know, seeing that, now's the time to create those things. So I probably would have like, you know, bought all my podcasting equipment and stuff like that. I still could do it now, but if I'd known it was coming and I knew I would have had to cancel a whole bunch of stuff, I probably would have done that. Like created a podcast.
Oh, you need to do that. I can't wait. That's coming. I'm going to email all your team.
Okay.
You heard it here first, people. It's coming. It's coming. We've got to make sure that we creep her out on Instagram stories and keep asking her for a podcast.
Yeah.
So we kind of like to cut through the BS on this podcast and in my business as well and get momentum. So what barrier have you had in business that you could now call BS on that would be a lesson for anyone listening?
Yeah. So when I first started making a little bit of money in my business, and I could afford to buy courses and coaching, I actually went a bit crazy with it. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm a big fan, like, oh my God, some of my purchases, especially in the early days, were things that absolutely changed my life and my business. But I just remember this point, I was a couple of years in and I was seeing too many coaches in all slightly different areas of my life. And what I realized, the BS story for me was that I can't trust my own wisdom. Mm-hmm. And I was like polling people. So I'd have a coach, like a spirituality coach and like 2 different kinesiologists. And I was getting business advice from all of them, even if they weren't particularly qualified in that particular area. Mm-hmm. And I remember one thing that kind of came to a head for me was I was seeing a chiropractor at the time who was maybe about in his 50s, male chiropractor. And he would ask me questions about my business. And I realized I was trying to get like validation. I wanted him to like pat me on the back. And I think too, because he was a man, it was like, you know, well, I didn't grow up with a dad. So it was really nice having this like older man going, oh, well done. Cause I go, oh, I got a new client. And like, you know, I was just like, oh, this is so exciting. And I just wanted him to pat me on the back. And I remember he said, I've been thinking about your business. And I was like, oh my God, really? This is why he's doing his adjustments, right, on me. And he goes,
I've been thinking about your business.
Yes. And he goes, I don't think you should call your business Lucky Bitch anymore. And I was like, why is that, Bob? I can't even remember his name. And he goes, because it implies that you think you're better than everyone else. And I remember thinking, oh, first of all, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And then I went away from that interaction going, I am giving my power away to all of these people who do not know my business as well as I know my business. They don't know my clients and my target market as well as I do. They don't know me. And I was just not trusting my wisdom. So I think that was the BS. It's like, you know, everyone else knows better than me, or I need to validate my ideas.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And so how do you now trust yourself? Because there's so many options out there, and that's what lots of women come to me about, is like the strategy to stop the overwhelm.
Yes. Well, often I find that me, as well as other people, we're looking for a silver bullet, right? We're like, mm-hmm. Oh, this will be the perfect thing and everything will be solved. So what I try and do is I have a lot more discernment these days about who I get advice from and mm-hmm. what kind of advice I get from them. And I take it with a grain of salt, and I really have to try and check in with myself and think, you know, is this right? Is this right for me? So I've just had a lot more discernment around it. You know, I still sometimes find myself doing it of like, oh, I wonder what that person would think, or maybe I should book a psychic reading with somebody because I just don't want to sit down and have to think about that myself. But also I don't beat myself up for getting the advice, because I still think it's really good to do it. And sometimes just to pay someone to hold the space for you for an hour, because do you have that time to spend on that hour? But I really check in with myself first, and I sleep on it instead of making a quick decision.
Okay. And I like, it is kind of like a balance between, you don't know what you don't know. So especially if it's like, I don't know, how to grow your Instagram account or something like that. But when it comes down to what you want to create in your business and how you want to show up, that can only come from within and the next direction, because there are so many options when you grow your business online. You know, some entrepreneurs at your level would say that they could never be there without a podcast, and here you are there without a podcast and books, and they don't have books. So there's like many, I want you to hear that there's many ways to I can't say skin a cat because she's sitting right there, but there's many ways to get you to, you know, the 6-7 figure, whatever your goal is, but to just, I guess, sit silent and check in with yourself, right?
Well, I think that was probably a mistake I made at the start, is thinking that there was one path. So I was like, oh, well, I'll follow what that coach is doing. I'll follow that course to the letter. And then not realizing that you do have to take in all of those things and curate it for your personality. You know, I think that's my biggest lesson for people now is know yourself, know what floats your boat, know what you're good at, know what lights you up, and really only do those things. Whereas 10 years ago, even, you know, probably even longer, I spent a lot of time in self-improvement in my 20s, especially, thinking, oh, this is wrong with me, so I'll find some way to overcome that, instead of going, well, here are my really key little strengths, let's double down on those and either forget the rest or outsource the rest. And so there isn't a clear one path, except to know yourself, and then you find your direction for it.
And I like how you said double down on your strengths. I think for so long we've always been told, especially if you've been in a corporate environment, you know, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, like your KPIs are to work on your weaknesses. And I was like, but I'm really, really crap at them. I don't want to work on those. I want to keep focusing on these ones. And I think moving into an entrepreneurial online space is you get to just focus on those strengths and outsource the rest.
Absolutely. And I think that even applies to, you know, your target audience, everything. It's like, well, what's the easiest target audience for you to serve, right? And we would never say to like someone making cupcakes, well, you should market to people and convince them to like cupcakes. You know, it's like, but why don't you just sell to the people who already know and like and want to buy cupcakes? But like sometimes we do it in the entrepreneurial world of like, you should be convincing people of your worth. And I'm like, oh my God, just preach to the converted, you know, because there's so many clients out there. You may as well go for the ones that already like your voice. You don't have to change your voice. They already like the way you look. You don't need to change that. They like your branding. They like how you speak. And when I see people go, oh, I need to change these little micro things about myself because this person doesn't like it, it's like, it's okay that they're not your customer. They will find someone else who they like better. And you'll both be happier, and that's cool. And then if you run out of those people, then try and convince the other people, but you'll never run out of those people.
No. And that is the bottom line. I don't know how many, there's 7.5 billion people in the world, and if they all said yes, I want to work with you tomorrow, you'd have heart failure.
They really would.
You know, you just couldn't cope. So don't try and like appease everyone, when really actually, you know, 50 or 100 is the maximum that you could cope with anyway. So
it really is. Absolutely.
Okay, so what and I like this question specifically for you because I know that you're working on legacy. What legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space?
So when I started, I was like, oh my God, I got to be the Oprah of my industry. And so I think sometimes the legacy question, we feel like it's very serious and a bit scary, and we have to leave a mark like Oprah, right? And I remember listening to Oprah talk about legacy too, because Toni Morrison asked her, like, you know, what's your legacy or something? And Oprah was like, oh, you know, I've got my girls' school and I've got this and the show and the philanthropy. And then she was like, you have no idea what your legacy is going to be. You know, there's so many things. It could be the one person that you speak to that you have an impact on. And she's like, you have no idea. And so I think for me, I take off the pressure of like having to have like the legacy. It feels super like scary, and just go, oh my God, what if I just contribute to however many people? It could be a couple of more thousand people that I help with their money mindset, and then they create an amazing ripple effect. And so I don't feel like it has to be all me. And I'm just like, I'm just going to contribute to as many lives as I can while not burning myself out and not stressing about it, and just showing up and being me.
And that is just perfect in a nutshell, because everyone can do that in their own world. That's pretty cool. I love it.
Absolutely. I think this whole thing about having to be a guru, it really puts people off, and it feels competitive. And I find that a lot of women, they're like, oh, well, I don't want to be the best. Like, how would I even be the best? And you don't have to be the best to help someone. And also the good news is you don't have to fight anyone else to be the top dog, because we can all contribute in our own way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, how can people get in touch with you and creep on your stories?
So really easy. I'm at Denise DT everywhere. So my website is denisedt.com. My Instagram handle is at DeniseDT. And I tend to hang out on Instagram a lot, followed by Facebook and then probably Twitter last. But yeah, that's the easiest way. And I love when people get in touch and tell me an aha they got from a podcast they listened to, because I love being of service. And if you did something, you created something, you changed something, you tweaked something in your life because of this interview or one of my books, then I would love to hear from you.
Amazing. Well, there you go. You can be part of the stories, and I can creep on you as well.
Yay.
And then, have you got something for our listeners, like a gift or a download or something like that they can start their money mindset journey with you?
Absolutely. So if you go to my website, denisedt.com /blocks. So I've got a workshop there about 7 money blocks that you might not even know that you have, and that's, a lot of people who do my work, they often say that. They say, I didn't think I had any money blocks until I listened to your stuff or read your book, and I realized I actually have all of them. So that's a really easy one. It's a really good start to see, or a refresher to see how far you've come, or if you've got less blocks than before. So denisedt.com/blocks.
Excellent. That sounds like I'll be heading over there to recheck if any have popped up, because I know that becoming a mum, a whole lot just like exploded out of nowhere, and I definitely didn't have them before because I wasn't a mum, and then I became a mum, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm worrying about this, what's going on? So I go back through stuff, where unfortunately I've drawn all through your book, and like, oh my goodness, oh well, okay, got to do that tapping. And
I love seeing pictures of books that have been written on and post-it notes in there too, so you have to send me a picture of that.
I will. Okay, great. Okay, and so just as a last little soundbite, what is your favorite one-liner that you give yourself when you need to kick your butt and get it back into momentum in your business?
Yes. Okay. It's a really easy one. Today is my lucky day, because sometimes we think that I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll wait for the stars to align, or I'll wait for Mercury to retrograde to be over. Yeah. So it's good. It's a good one to remind yourself that you create your own luck every single day. And why not today, right? You can just do it. You can just decide, and you can just get into action and decide that today is your lucky day.
That's so easy to remember as well. So there you go. Well, thank you very much for this episode and being part of the Hit Refresh for 2020 Summit. It was awesome having you on here, and I can't wait for everyone to put a picture up to Instagram stories about some takeaway that they got from this interview or one of your books.
Yay! Thanks.
Wow, what an amazing episode. Thanks for tuning in. And if you loved the Woo with the Do and want to dive deeper into how you too can get and keep momentum in your business, then please join us at pennyelliottgroup.com/consistent clients for the live training this month. It's going to be super juicy, as I'm giving you access to the only 3 daily habits and mindset tweaks you need to have consistent clients in your business forevermore. Come and join us.